It's working. Yay. Hello, if you are catching this, if you're seeing this, you're probably catching the replay, so drop replay in the comments for me, and do me a huge favor and comment as if you were live. I love reading your comments. I love reading all of the things that you think that you would say as we go through each module, and it's like we're having this conversation, and I absolutely love it. So, thank you for your patience. I didn't know if it was going to let me go live. I had to uninstall and reinstall the app, and I wasn't sure if it was going to let me go live today. So this masterclass apparently is just that potent, is just that powerful, and we've just had resistance upon resistance, and I just keep showing up, and I will continue to just keep showing up. So thank you to each and every one of you that just keep showing up with me. And par for the course, it looks like I do not have comments at the moment. So we are going to go forward and trust that they will show up because they always show up. So do me a huge favor, continue to comment. Throw the emoji bomb me because I can see that usually if you emoji bomb the heck out of me, even if the comments are not working. And we will go forward in trust and faith that the comments will begin to work. So comment. I will go through and I will read all of your comments. Go ahead and get your lightning bolt emoji ready so that you can be using that if there is a huge energetic exchange between you and I. Something that is just like, wow, that makes so much sense. I haven't heard it put that way. Have that button ready because I feel like today it's powerful if you're ready for it. Like, there can be powerful messages all over the place, but if you are not actually ready to receive it, it doesn't land in quite the same way. But if you're here, my guess is you're ready to receive this. So, congratulations to everyone who has won so far. There are 4 winners so far, and we are about to draw another winner. I had 4 new names go in the cup. Actually, it was more than that. I don't remember how many new names went in the cup today, but we have a lot of names in this cup, guys. It's amazing. And you get your name in the cup. I'm actually going to do one more drawing before this closes on the 30th. So you get your name in the cup by sharing the I'm in graphic or sharing module 1 or module 2 because they're both out. They're not in a closed container. So you share those, you drop shared in the comments for me, and then I can put your name in the cup. Or if you share the I'm in graphic in your stories, on your Instagram stories, Facebook stories, Instagram feed, Facebook feed, and screenshot it and stick it in the win thread that's inside of here in Guide 11, I will get your name in there and we will do one more drawing before this content comes down on June 30th. You will only have replay access to the FemmePower Masterclass inside Guide 11 until June 30th, okay? But we will be drawing another name or 2 before it closes, as well as the ones that we're about to draw today. So, yay! I'm so excited to be here with you. Let's draw a name for a 60-minute one-on-one with me. How cool would that be to have 60 minutes to ask me questions, get coached, dig into generational trauma, do some healing work, find out how to cycle sync this specific thing in your life, because you can understand the general way that cycle syncing works. And hopefully that was my goal, is that by the end of this class, this masterclass, you will be able to begin to notice your cycle, begin to see when you're high energy, when you're a little bit lower energy, give yourself grace when you're not superwoman, and understand that you will be again, and that you can plan according to that, and it's going to change your entire world. Like, in such huge, huge ways. It is so amazing to me. So, we have a name here in my hand for a 60-minute call with me for Elaine Hirschberger. Congratulations, Elaine. Elaine probably has her name in this cup the most times of anybody. So, congratulations to Miss Elaine. It would be a tie between her and Linda King. They're both in there a lot, which is amazing. So, big congratulations to Elaine. If you can tag her, please go ahead and do that. Awesome. And we will dive into the masculine and feminine pieces today. So, I just want to preface this Module 3 piece with this. It is so interesting to me how many people show up for day 1 of a free container, of a free masterclass. We had up to 20 people on live at one time in Module 1. Yesterday, we rocked at around 9. Today, so far, we've got 7. It is fascinating to me how people will show up for the first day of something free, and then they just kind of drop off. So I want to commend you that are watching Module 3. You are the cream of the crop that are showing up for yourselves for the transformation that is here for you. Pat yourself on the back and do a booty dance because you have showed up for Module 3. Even if you're on replay. I'm in a paid course right now, and I couldn't catch the live yesterday, but I caught it today. So, even if you're on replay on this, pat yourself on the back that you showed up for Module 3. You are a very small percentage of the population, but it is that percentage of the population that transforms. Congratulations for showing up. I'm so proud of you. If you think about it, if you spend like $500 on a course, you're dang sure going to be there, right? If you spend $5,000 on a retreat that's in Hawaii, there's nothing that's going to stop you from going, especially if it's non-refundable. But when free things come, we're kind of like, yeah, if I make it, I make it. When really, it could be so pivotal to your entire life, which is what my hope is when I run free masterclasses. Some of them are in the guide section. Some of them have come down like this one will come down. But either way, when I run free things, my hope is that it is transformational to you in your life. So thank you for being here today. Okay. So if you've watched my masterclasses before, or even my paid content, I endeavor to have day 1 be freaking amazing, and I endeavor to have the last day be freaking amazing. And that doesn't mean that everything in between isn't, but I try and up it even more for those 2 days. So, welcome to day 3. I told you yesterday in Module 2 that today we are looking at the masculine and feminine halves of the cycle. Sounds pretty woo, Sarah. What are you talking about? That's what we're going to break down today. So if you haven't already, take some time and go watch the Beautiful Rhythm Masterclass. It is the very first video that I ever did inside of this group. I did it in January of 21. My makeup game is not what it is today. My background game is not what it is today. My lighting game is not what it is today. But the content is still very, 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 very relevant, and you're going to begin to see the mirror that it is in Beautiful Rhythm. We look at the solstices, the equinoxes, the seasons, and as you go through this masterclass's content, you will see the mirror that it is to your feminine body. So it is actually in Guide 1, and you can see the transformation of your girl in the last 18 months, which is super fun to watch too. 18 months, wow. This group has been open for 18 months. That's so cool. Okay. So, there is a masculine half and a feminine half to everything. I'm a person that believes that everything is created. Everything is very intentional, that is created, that is natural. And so within that, we have a blueprint of the creator. And therefore we have a masculine half and a feminine half. Somehow, some way. You can see it in relationships. You have a more masculine person in the relationship and a more feminine person in the relationship. You can see it in the dance of the sun and the moon, like I explained in Module 1. You can see it in dark and light. You can see it in day and night. You can see it in a cold season and a hot season. You can see it in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And the thing is that just because I was created woman, I'm not only feminine. I have masculine aspects to myself also, or nothing would ever get done. The masculine half is very much the doing half, and the feminine half is very much the being half. And it takes both to be a whole. This is the nature of the yin-yang. And if you study yin and yang, yin is very feminine and yang is very masculine. So, and I mentioned this in day one also, I think, but let's look at it a little bit deeper. You have cycles within cycles, within cycles, within cycles, within cycles, within cycles, within cycles. So in 60 minutes, you have a cycle, and that's contained within a 24-hour cycle. And the 24-hour cycles are contained within a 7-day cycle. The 7-day cycles are contained within a 28-day cycle. The 28-day cycle is contained within a 12 to 13, usually more like 13-month cycle. And it gets even bigger from there. And in the same way, you have masculine contained within feminine and feminine contained within masculine. When you hear that, oh, that man is in touch with their feminine side, it means that they're actually a more balanced, whole man, which is beautiful. But anything in nature that's out of balance leads to chaos, and we'll get there in a minute. But examples of the feminine inside of the masculine and the masculine inside of the feminine is that in the masculine of daylight, sometimes you can see the moon, the feminine moon, during the day. About half of the month, you can see that. Again, halves here, right? Half of the month, you can see that. Tell me if you can come up with any other examples of where you can see the masculine contained within the feminine or the feminine contained within the masculine. In Module 2, I shared about my mom and my grandma and how both operated from their masculine in big, big ways. Like, I can't even tell you probably how many hours a day my grandma stood in her kitchen and cooked for the sawmill workers, for her family of seven, for cousins that were staying with them, for family that was visiting, for all of these people. And your grandmas were probably very similar in a lot of different ways. My mom was a single mom for most of my life, like 98% of my life. And so she was also an entrepreneur. She was running her own business. But it started even younger than that, when she was, a 13-year-old foremaning a sawmill. She's been in her masculine a lot of her life. Both of them were. And a lot of times when you find women that are operating out of their masculine, it was either because it's either out of necessity or it's because someone that they learned from did it out of necessity, or someone that they learned from did it out of necessity, and then it was passed down and passed down and passed down. I can't tell you how many times, like, I can hear it, the voice of my mom in my head, well, fine, I'll go do it myself. Have you ever said that? Fine, I'll go do it myself. I did it this morning. We bought a 5-gallon bucket of honey on Tuesday. And Thursday, I pulled out, taking the kids to swim lessons, and it was a smaller shot to hit in the highway. Like, it was still safe, but it was a smaller shot, and so I made the curve fast, and then we ended up pulling over immediately because the honey bucket fell over because we hadn't taken it out of the back of the van yet, and I was like, no! I don't want to spill honey all over my van! Thankfully, it did not spill. Got it stood back up and took the rest of the curves more gently than I had. But I hadn't gotten it out because I was like, well, my husband can do that. He's, bigger and stronger, and it's 5 gallons of honey. Well, he didn't get it out. He hurt his back yesterday, so your girl was making pancakes this morning, and pancakes are an ingredient, or honey is an ingredient in the pancakes, and so guess who got to go get the honey bucket out of the van and haul it in the house this morning? Fine, I'll go do it myself. And it wasn't necessarily in that energy this morning, like I was trying to help my husband because he hurt his back and he couldn't do it anyway. But had we done it prior, your girl wouldn't have been so much in my masculine this morning of, fine, I'll go do it myself. So let me know if this is resonating. Let me know if this is making sense. So the masculine half is the doing half. The get out of my way, I will take care of this myself. Very much a controlling half can be also very masculine of, I don't care that the dishes are being done. They're not being done the right way, so I'm going to do it instead. Move. It can be a very disempowered masculine, and that's what that looks like. But it can be a very empowered masculine also. And that's what you want to work toward. This is FemmePower. You want to come from an empowered place. It is the support structure. Masculine is very much a support structure, and we're going to break that down here in a couple minutes. Oh, I have comments! Jenny's throwing lightning bolts. Yay, the comments are working! Woohoo! Always move forward and trust that it is going to work. Okay. Masculine is very hard and sharp edges, if you think about it. Very angular. Whereas the feminine half is more being. Masculine is doing. Feminine is being. The lean back and receive. The energy that flows within the support structure that the masculine provides. So if you want to look at it from a very biblical perspective, you have the masculine half that is the creation and the doing, and then you have the spirit that is the feminine being that flows within the creation that was made. Feminine is very soft and curved edges. My husband, and I didn't ever see it until he said it this way, like last year. No, it was even longer ago than that. It was like 3 or 5 years ago. He showed me a picture of the desert, like Sahara desert. He's like, isn't it so feminine? I was like, what are you talking about? But the curves of how the sand lays is very, very feminine. And so today we were snuggling, he and I were snuggling on the couch, and we were watching our daughters play on the keyboard, which was not plugged in, thankfully. And he's looking at them and he's like, is the muscular structure of a woman different than a man? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, is the muscle shaped different in women than men? I was like, well, not exactly, but I understand what you're asking, I think. And so he's looking at my 2-year-old and he's like, when our second son was that age, like his posture was rigid. He was just like up, like a line. And our daughters are not like that. They are more, I don't want to say caved in because that's not what I mean, but they're more rounded already. They're more soft. They're more curved already. And our boys are very angular, very straight up and down, very rigid. And I was like, actually, that's more of a fat piece. Like the muscle itself is the same structure in everybody. And yet I probably have more fat around my calves, which is what he was specifically looking at in the girls this morning, than the boys do, or than you do. Well, yeah, even. And a lot of that comes back to our hormones. You have to have fat in order for your hormones to be operating correctly. Let me know if drop fat in the comments if that makes sense to you, or if you've heard that before. Women need more fat for our brains to function properly. Everybody does need fat for proper brain function, but women actually need more so that you can produce the hormones that make you feminine. And so a lot of your high performance female athletes don't have periods. And they go to get pregnant and they can't get pregnant because they're not ovulating either, because they have such a low percentage of fat because of the lifestyle that they have as a performing athlete. Jessica says skeletal makers are different, so appearance would look different. Markers are different. Yes. Okay. Gotcha. So in those ways, yes, even in my small children, you can see the difference of a feminine image and a masculine image. And at the same time, like I said, you can see the moon during the day. So even within this feminine structure, there's masculine within it. This morning, I'll go get the honey myself. And it was, like I said, to help my husband. And yet it could have been got Thursday or Wednesday or Tuesday, because I picked it up on Tuesday. Okay. So this is where we get to but anything out of balance leads to chaos. And then nature will recorrect itself in the event of chaos. So if you think about a tornado, it's nature, very, very powerful, and it's the meeting of two different temperatures, like drastic head-on meeting of two different temperatures creates this tornado. Nature out of balance, two drastically different temperatures not in balance, creates chaos. And then nature eventually corrects itself after it has ran its course. Running its course is the correction of it. And so I have a friend whose husband worked with Joel Salatin. If you know Joel Salatin, you can drop Joel in the comments for me. But Joel Salatin is a holistic farmer, holistic rancher. And so the guy that I know that worked with him, what he does is he comes into a ranching setting or a agricultural setting of any kind, and he looks at the vegetation that is growing in this situation, and he assesses the soil balance based on that. So if there's a lot of thistle, he can tell you what you need in order to bring your soil back into balance, because what the thistle is actually doing is it's trying to put the nutrients back in that the soil is missing over time so that it can come back into balance. But all we see as, the farmer that's trying to grow a hay crop is, all these thistles are in my field. We don't have the 15 years to allow the thistles to do what they're going to do for the soil. So when you can start to assess that and start to address the problem because, I have a lot of thistles all of a sudden, let's fix it, you can help nature speed up the correction of the chaos that is present. And this is across the board. When you have an imbalance in nature, it creates chaos, and then nature fixes the chaos. Let's see here. You look at lemmings and wolves. They say that goes in 7-year cycles. There'll be no lemmings, lots and lots of lemmings, no lemmings. So time would not permit me to list all of the different ways that this happens, but when you start observing from that perspective, you will begin to see it a lot of different places, and it's super, super cool. So when my mom and my grandma, and very, very likely my great-grandma, and who knows how far back, because like I said in Module 2, I have a 4 greats grandma that was full-blooded Cherokee. What she went through to survive, I don't even know. All of the doing that she had to do, all of the masculine that she would have had to embody in order to live. Like, how deep did this pain that I had go? I don't know. But what I can see in my mom and my grandma was 2 women that operated very, 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 very heavily in their masculine. And when you operate most of your life in your masculine, it's nature out of balance. And so the correction was, I'm going to give you pain in the feminine piece of your cycle so that you're forced to slow down, so that you're forced to stop. And if you missed Module 2, this is probably not making a whole lot of sense. So you'll want Module 2 for context. And so when you're actually bleeding, when you're in the bleeding piece of your cycle, that is the feminine half of your cycle. And if you're still trying to push through like the 9-to-5 paradigm wants you to, you are actually embodying a masculine piece of yourself when you're not supposed to be doing it. And eventually your body's going to say, no, you're done. If I have to make you have labor-like cramps in order to get you to stop, that's what I'm going to do. If I have to give you chronic fatigue syndrome to get you to stop, that's what I'm going to do. my family, it happens to have been fibroid tumors. That's not all families, but there's a version of it in a lot of families. This is nature correcting the chaos of you operating too much in your masculine, and it goes both ways, or too much in your feminine. My mom has 2 sisters. Only one of them had the fibroid tumor-like pain that led to a hysterectomy. The other one did not. However, she fought a breast cancer battle just a couple years ago. Too much operation in the masculine, the nature itself is going to try and course correct, and very, very frequently that looks like some sort of physical ailment. Now, there's lots of reasons that physical ailments can come up. That's one, but so my opinion is that about 80% of our physical problems have a spiritual or emotional root. The masculine-feminine imbalance falls into that spiritual emotional root category. So it can look a lot of different ways, but in the end, it's nature trying to course correct. Somehow, some way. Okay. My postpartum depression. If you look at, Marlene says she definitely agrees with that. Thank you, darling. So if you look at the 4 seasons, like we looked at in Module 1 of your cycle, spring, summer, fall, and winter, you can see it mirrored in the 4 trimesters of pregnancy. First trimester is spring, second trimester is summer, third trimester is fall, fourth trimester, winter. You need to be in deep rest in winter. You need to be snuggling a baby. You need to be skin to skin. You need to be establishing milk supply. You need to not be hosting the family that came to see the baby. You need to be asking them to help you do the laundry. I didn't do that the first 4 times. 2 of them I didn't have a baby, so in my head it didn't make any sense. But the fact is, I was still in postpartum those 2 times. Nature out of balance will correct itself. I didn't embrace that feminine phase that I was in and rest and be. I pushed through. I hosted. I cooked. I was the woman that was going to bounce back fast, and I bounced back fast in the form of 18 months of postpartum depression. Nature out of balance will correct itself somehow. Vicky asks, are the seasons split pretty evenly into 7-day segments, or is summer like the 2 days of ovulation? More the latter, Vicky. I would go through Module 1. I'm pretty sure that I put the days in it, like 4 to 7, 8 to 13. I'm pretty sure I put the days in it. So go through Module 1, dear. So let's see. So when you think of masculine energy, I want you to think of a house, actually. So when you have a house, you have lines, you have angles, you have very cut and dry how the house is going to go. It's sturdy. It's strong. You have a big wind come through and it's going to hold its structure. It's steady. You have storms come through. It gets buffeted by snow, like outside of, a major tornado or something similar, natural disaster. A house is very strong and steady, and that's why we have them. It's, so you have somewhere safe to be in those inclement situations. Even heat. And so within the house, the structure, there's a family that gets to ebb and flow. They get to come and go. They get to have somewhere that's protected from the cold and somewhere that's safe from the heat. There's somewhere that they can sleep, somewhere that they can play, somewhere they can leave from and return to. Masculine energy is very much a structured energy, like the house. Feminine energy is very much the flowing, receiving energy, like the family inside of the house. So very, very often, if you look, you will have some sort of masculine structure that's housing this feminine flow. And it might be very, very minute and minuscule. It might be very, very, very broad and big. Because just like we have cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles, you will have feminine housed in masculine, feminine housed in masculine, feminine housed in masculine, feminine housed in masculine. So the feminine receives the protection of the house, receives the warmth that the house provides, receives the cool that the house provides. It's able to flow within that structure of the home. When it comes to the smaller house that is our feminine body, it's no different. Excuse me. We have masculine things that we do, like getting up and making breakfast and taking the kids to swimming lessons or to karate lessons, or going and working whatever the business is that brings you money, or going and buying the food so that you can cook the food, or preserving the food so that you have food later. These are all masculine things that we do within our feminine body. And then we have the feminine pieces that when we neglect them, and we so often do, and nature out of balance leads to chaos, and it self-corrects. But the feminine pieces are the self-care pieces, the good sleep pieces, smelling a flower, enjoying the taste of your food. These are all feminine pieces that a lot of times get pushed to the side as not necessary. But if you want a healthy whole life, they're very, very, very necessary. Smelling and enjoying the smell of the bread that you just put all this masculine effort into making. Slowly tasting the fruit of your labor. The little red hen is a great example of masculine and feminine. She did all the things, and then she enjoyed it. Enjoying the luxury of soft pillows and blankets to hold your body. Somewhere nice to land. And so it's within this physical body that there is an entire circuit system that is balanced masculine and feminine energy. And it radiates from our womb space like we talked about in Module 1. This balance, like if you close your eyes for a second and you see your womb space as this bright, brilliant light. And then that light radiates up through your body, down through your legs, out through your arms, and see it as a circuit, like an electrical circuit. So it's going around. So it's radiating from your womb space, and it goes up one side, and it comes down the other, down through the leg, up through the other leg, meets again in the womb space, goes up through your head, your arm, down the other side. It's this electrical circuit. And there's a masculine half to the circuit, and there's a feminine half to the circuit, both of which radiate from your womb center, from your womb space. So you can open your eyes if you did close your eyes with me. Marlene says, I'm becoming so consciously aware that when I take a walk to experience the sounds and feels of nature. Yes, you're in your feminine then, dear. And actually it's a beautiful balance of both, because a walk is doing, but it's a feminine form of exercise. And you get to do feminine things like the sounds and the feels of nature while you're doing it. This is so incredible. So if you imagine this circuit in your body, the spring and summer of your cycle is the masculine half of this nature in you. The fall and winter of your cycle is the feminine half of this natural circuit that flows within you. So you have approximately 14 days or so. Oh no, that's not true. Sorry. Vicky will answer your question here. So when you, day 1 of bleeding is when you have full blood in a bleeding woman. Now, again, bleeding or not, you have this cycle. It just looks a little bit different if you don't have a period. We're going to go with bleeding. So day 1, full blood is day 1. 1 through 5-ish is your period phase, your menstrual phase. And for me, until my most recent period, I would bleed for 8 days, but I would feel my feminine or my masculine energy start to rise at about day 5. So even though I was bleeding for another 2 to 3 days, my energy was rising, and I could feel the get up and go of my masculine energy taking over at about the day 5 mark. So you have bleeding from like day 1 to day 6-ish. Day 7 to day 12-ish is your follicular phase, but like I said, I would feel that energy start at about day 5-ish. We're in flow, we're women. And then you have ovulation from about day 13 to day 16 or so, and then you have luteal from day 17-ish until you bleed again, so 28-ish. So they don't break into even 7-day segments, Vicky, in a bleeding cycle. If you're non-bleeding and you're following the lunar cycle, that breaks into pretty much an even 7.5 days or something like that on each one. So if you imagine spring and summer of your cycle, so about day 5 to about day 16-ish, we're in flow. You have the spring and the summer of your cycle. This covers your follicular and your ovulatory phases of your cycle. This is a very masculine half, and it's not split directly in half, but I call it the masculine half because there's only 2 pieces we're talking about here. This is a very masculine half of your cycle. It's the time to till, it's the time to plant, it's the time to tend, it's the time to schedule coffee dates or conferences, it's the time to sell. It's the time that you can put in 15-hour, 16-hour, 17-hour work days and be okay. As long as you balance it in the feminine half of your cycle. From about day... So your luteal phase is the longest phase of your cycle, but it splits in 2. So you have some carryover ovulation energy into the first few days of luteal, and then you'll feel it when you hit fall. You're like, whew, I cannot do what I did 2 days ago. There's no way. And so that's what I call the late luteal. So somewhere in between day 17 and day 20, you're going to hit that luteal half of your cycle. And from there through to day 5 of bleeding or so is your feminine half of your cycle. This is your feminine half. This is your masculine half. Feminine half, masculine half, feminine half. Okay. So when you're in the feminine half of the cycle, you're in fall and winter. If you remember correctly, the fall of our cycle is, I already covered that. So you actually, as a woman, spend, on average, a little bit more than 50% of your cycle in the feminine half. But because the patriarchy and the narrative doesn't want you to do that, very, very rarely are we actually honoring that. Hence why we're 1/3 to 50% more sick than men. We start honoring that 55 to 60% of our cycle that's actually supposed to be lived in more feminine energy. You're going to see a wave of women healing. It's going to be profound. In the feminine half of your cycle, this is the time that you do the inner work. This is the time you do the wound healing. This is the time that it's going to be very, very obvious what wounds do need to be healed when you're aware and you're looking for them. It's the time to dig into trauma. It's the time to do self-care. It's the masculine doing kind, like getting a massage, and the feminine sitting in the grass, touching the ground for 30 minutes and being kind of things that you do. So you still do things, you just make them more feminine in what you do. Like the beautiful example Marlene gave of taking a walk. You still do things in the feminine half of your cycle, but you do things that are very nourishing. You have a half that you can do things that are more of a giving, and you have a half that you do things that are more of a receiving. This is a time to rest and enjoy the season that you are in, be it fall or winter. There's always something to do in each season. They just have a predominantly masculine lilt or a predominantly feminine lilt. I want to read Marie's comment here. Is it possible to be out of sync with your lunar cycle, like a red moon versus white moon cycle, if you aren't bleeding? Just like a bleeding woman could be out of sync with her cycle if she is healing, balancing some things out. So Marija, I feel like once you understand what I'm teaching today, outside of feeling like you need to guilt yourself because of what you've been taught for decades, the only reason you would be out of sync with your cycle is if you choose to be. Okay, darling. If I'm understanding your question correctly, once you understand how this splits into a feminine half, a masculine half and a feminine half, you get to choose at that moment. You get to decide. Just like if you decide you're going to heal, if you decide you're going to run a business and you're in it for the context of life, if you decide you're going to honor yourself in the way that your circuitry is actually wired and knit in the womb and created to be, if you find yourself out of alignment with that, it's because you chose it. Once you know this, you get to choose. Now, there's things that are going to come up. There's going to be a conference that is in the feminine half of your cycle. What do? I paid for it 6 months ago. How was I to know? There's things you can do in that situation. You can still go. You can still go to the conference. It's not the best time in your cycle to go to the conference, but there's things you do before you go, there's things you do while you're there, and there's things you do after you get home that allow you to still be as much in your feminine at that point as possible and enjoy the conference that you paid for 6 months ago. It's when you're like, yeah, I know I'm late luteal, and I know I got triggered today, and I really don't want to do it, and I'm going to go do this instead, that you're out of sync with your cycle by choice. I'm going to go scroll my phone, even though I got triggered this morning, and I'm going to numb out because I don't want to deal with whatever it is and do the healing work that just got offered to me. You know, so-and-so called and they want me to go do this job, and I know I'm going to bleed in a day or so, but I have some energy and I want to go do it. Yeah, I think I can just go do it. It's not honoring you. You're welcome, Marija. Thanks for the questions. So it's down to awareness and intention if you're hearing me right. Yes, dear. I think so. Jenny says, know better, do better. Yes, dear. Okay, so let me see where I was. So as you begin to walk in this ebb and flow, you begin to allow your body, your mind, your emotions, your generations, space to actually heal. This is what finally began to happen to me last year in June. I'd been cycle syncing for years. I'd known the phases of my life for years. For quite a few of them, I only scheduled my business around it, and I didn't schedule the rest of life with it. I had 4 kids. I had 2 kids. I just lost a baby. I had to push through. I had to keep going because that's what every voice around me was saying. It was 2 weeks not even 2 weeks postpartum from delivering a 24-week stillbirth. And everybody was telling me that the sooner you can get back to normal, the better you'll be. So that's what I did. If better looks like 18 months, a year. If better looks like a year of extreme depression, I don't want better. Had I known that had I given myself 6 weeks to grieve, to feel, to heal, that probably wouldn't have happened. I would have taken 6 weeks to grieve, to feel, to heal. But that's not what the voices said. And I didn't know better. So last year in June is when the deep healing actually started to have physical evidence. Last year in June was the last pain period that I had. Now, it was only like January-ish that I had started to really cycle sync life. Not just my business, not just when it was convenient, life. And so you take 5 to 6 months of cycle syncing your life, doing the inner work when it shows up, doing the healing when it shows up instead of choosing to numb out and scroll on your phone, choosing who you're going to be in the moment where you get triggered. You will start to see this healing manifest like that. 5 to 6 months of doing that showed up as my last pained period in June last year, and I haven't had one since. Now, because I have the wisdom to know that I shouldn't be pushing through in my period, I don't. But I finally don't have the physical limitation that makes me unable to push through. I could, because I don't have that physical limitation. But I honor myself, I respect myself, I understand myself enough to know that it could come back. And I'm not going to set myself up to fail in that way. I won't do it. So I continue to honor my luteal phase. I continue to honor the feminine half of my cycle. I continue to honor while I'm bleeding up to when I feel my energy rise again. So when I really started to understand the masculine and feminine energetic flow, the circuit that is running in my body, that's when healing really started to happen. And that's when I started to actually be able to walk through the portals in between each phase. There's a portal that you walk through in each phase. There's a moment that you can feel the shift when you're aware. And there's magic that can happen in that portal moment in between each season. And it is so flipping beautiful. It's amazing. It's inside of La Femme that we look at this ebb and flow very, very deeply. Time would not permit today to cover what I cover in 4 modules inside of La Femme. But we look at this ebb and flow of the feminine energetics inside La Femme very, very deeply. And when I run it again in this winter, we're going to look at those portal pieces in depth. And I'm so excited about it. If you wanted to do La Femme with me this winter, you can buy it right now at an early pre-sale price of $555. Or you can jump in it right now with a 6 pay. So 6 payments between now and when it runs this winter, and you would be guaranteed your spot. The only other way to get La Femme is to be in the content collection or inside of Resonance, and I'll talk about those in a moment. So it's rather like the portal pieces are rather like your own version of the solstices and the equinoxes. If we're looking at our body as a mirror of creation, because we're all made by the same entity, inside of you, you have what's essentially equinoxes and solstices. And if you go through the Beautiful Rhythm Masterclass in Guide 1, that'll make some more sense to you, because that's where I talk about the solstices and the equinoxes. Creator's fingerprint, Creator's thumbprint is everywhere. And it is so beautiful. There's 4 phases across the board. There's portals like the equinoxes and solstices across the board. And it is so amazing to see this intricate design across the board. It's freaking phenomenal. Okay, my notes tell me we're going to draw a name. This will be right at the hour mark here in a couple of minutes, so this is perfect. So we're going to draw a name. Let's see, we've done 2 $111 coaching dollar wins. We've done a 77. We've done a 30-minute call when we've done a 60-minute call. Let's see here. I'm going to bonus somebody into the VIP day that's happening next week. So when you're in Resonance, that is the experience with me for a year in all of my programs, and you get the vault. Inside of Resonance, you get a VIP day once per month where you can come in, you can ask questions. Sarah, I just went through La Femme. I have these questions. Sarah, I just went through this masterclass. I have these questions. that is where you can bring these questions. That is where you can come and say, okay, I got triggered really, really big a couple of days ago. I'm in my luteal phase. I want to heal this wound, whatever it is. Can we coach through this right now? The VIP day is the place to do that. So I'm going to bonus somebody into next week's VIP day. Okay, let's see, who is it going to be? This person. Caitlin Naveau! You get bonused into next week's VIP day, darling. Congratulations to Caitlin. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so if you feel complete, that is the training for today. I am going to tell you how you can deepen this conversation. So I have delivered a lot of information, Module 1, Module 2, Module 3. It's a lot of information, a lot of, wow, I could implement this. Okay, I can see that in my life. I can start to track my cycle. I can start to see when my energy's high. I can start to see when my energy's low. I can start to see when I ovulate. I can start to count from when I bleed. I can figure this out. It's a lot of information that I have delivered. So there are 3 tiers to growth. There's the information stage where you purely receive info. Like, you get inundated, you read a book and you're like, wow, that's cool. But 90% of the population read the book and they leave the book. Like, yeah, that was a nice read. And they move on and they don't actually do anything with what they just read. You could do that with this course. It could be this amazing information delivery. Wow, that makes sense. And you move on with life. Or you could choose to move into the next stage of growth, which is transformation. The transformation stage is when you take all of this amazing information that you received from me in this masterclass this week, and you begin to transform your life based on it. You begin to honor when you're bleeding, and then you expand that a little bit more to honor your late luteal and your bleeding phase in a different way than you ever have before. You begin to plan high energy days for all the things that you need to do. And when you can't do all the things in a day, you don't beat yourself up. You don't call yourself fickle, flaky, or a failure. Instead, you say, I'm feminine, I'm woman, and it will come back, and I'll do all the things then. That's the transformation stage. Integration stage is when you begin to live your life like this. When you begin to have everything work around as it's supposed to, as you were created. I had somebody in my inbox earlier this week, and it was so amazing to hear what she had to say, because I'd had the exact same thing happen that I explained yesterday in Module 2 with the swimming lessons this week and the karate and the masterclass. She jumped in my inbox. She's been in one of my courses. One! And yet, every so often, she's in my inbox going, hey, this happened, and it was so cool, and it was because you taught me this. She has gone through the transformation into the integration stage. And so what she had to say this week was, she's like, it's like everything has come behind me now that I am doing this for myself, and it's fixing it for me. And I knew exactly what she meant, because when you first hear this, you're like, oh, but like, I can't not do anything in my luteal and menstrual phase. It's not that you don't do anything in your luteal and menstrual phase. It's that you choose appropriate things for your luteal and menstrual phase to do. And so she had the exact same thing happen this week of, she was trying to schedule like a course, and she wanted to go get a new tattoo, and she wanted to go do this, and she wanted to go do that. And she needed them to be in her high energy window because it all had to happen at once. And it turned out that the course was at that time. The tattoo place had an opening at that time. That this had an opening at the right time. She's like, everything has come behind me now, and it all works like it needs to for me. And so I have so many people when they first start into the transformation stage, and they're like, I can't do this because I have this thing scheduled, and I can't just not do that. And so we figure out how you can, and you can still. But the farther that you go in this journey, the more that you trust the wisdom that has been knit into you and radiates from your womb space, the more everything aligns for you. Basically, any time that you see me post, everything is working for you, something like this has happened cyclically for me. For me and my cycle. Not on a broad scale, me and mine. Like, this thing got canceled and it worked for me. It's going to work better to do it here. This thing actually got moved and it works better for me. It's going to work better to do it here. This thing happened and it works better for me. You begin to see all of the pieces that Creator is putting into place to actually be in your favor by your cycle when you start to integrate up here. So you go from information to transformation to integration. This is what you get to do outside of my free stuff. If you want to just take the information, treat it like a book that you put on your shelf and never do anything else with it, that's okay. You can. But if you want to move into transformation, if you want to move into integration, coming deeper into my world is necessary. Buying some programs, investing in them, implementing them, very, very necessary for you to begin to be able to run a business around your cycle, or for you to be able to begin to see the generational roots that are on you to either, yes, I'm going to heal it, or no, I'm going to pass it on. And what's amazing is that it's not linear, again, when it comes to healing. It's everywhere. So when you choose to heal, you may heal for your sister too. It may not be for your offspring if you don't have any. You may heal for your sister, and you may heal for her offspring. It is so cool. It is so cool. So what I'm about to share with you is the different ways that you can come deeper into my world. La Femme is one of them. Taking that program with me where we deep dive into the feminine and masculine energetics of your cycle is one way that you can come in and move into that transformation and then that integration stage. The period portal. It's a micro course, but it is a potent micro course. It's an entire micro course on one of the 4 portals that you walk through in your cycle. That is currently contained in my vault. My hope is to run it this fall, but it's not 100% on the schedule like La Femme is. So it is in the vault if you wanted to go through the period portal. We look at this amazing portal from your luteal into your menstrual phase and how the veil is super, super thin between you and Creator. And you get downloads, you get ideas, you get this that you're going to implement. Wow, I don't know why I never thought of that before, but it's because you hadn't cleared the static to be able to receive that before. It is so cool. It is so cool. So that is housed in the vault right now. It may be coming this fall. I'm not 100%, but it is something to look for or to jump in the vault just purely for that. The content collection. So the content collection is every single program that I run for the next 12 months. It is the staged program that is starting in the next week or so. It is the funnels programs that we're going to run this in July. It is the copywriting programs that we're going to run in August. You see, when it comes to copywriting, you can't just write whatever, and you can't just... If you've ever tried to write content every single day, you know what it feels like to come to a day and you're just like, I don't have anything to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write about. You want me to do a live? I don't know what I'd say on a live. But I have this business that I want to grow, but I don't know what I'd say. When you come through the copywriting courses with me by cycle phase, it's going to be a lot easier to tap into what you have to say by cycle phase. In the masculine half of your cycle, it's really easy to just pump out posts. But when you're kind of more moody, when you've been triggered recently, when you're doing the inner work, when you're healing the things, it's like, God, I could say that, but it's going to come out wrong. Delete. I could say that, but it's not going to come out right. Delete. And then you find yourself not having posted anything, but you have this business you're trying to build. So the copywriting courses are amazing when it comes to cycle phase. That's August. We're going to do the coach program in September-ish. It's not just for coaches or aspiring coaches. There are pieces in that I use with my husband and my kids every single day. Every day. I'm so excited for the coach program. I can't wait. So that would be included in the content collection. La Femme would be included in the content collection. If I run the period portal later this year, it would be included in the content collection, along with anything I run in 2023, but I haven't mapped any of that out yet. So the content collection is $555 per month, and you get access to every program that I run. If you want to pay in full for the full 12 months, it'll save you money. It's like $6,111, I think. You have that option. The next option you have is Resonance. So Resonance is everything that I just said. You get access to every single program that I run, plus every program that I have ran. The period portal is in there. La Femme is in there. You could be watching them tonight if you jump in Resonance. You could have all of these juicy pieces if you jump in Resonance. You can have the time flow and in sync. That is how to plan, look at your calendar and actually plan according to your cycle phases. And it's so cool. Oh my gosh, I love it. It is Fueling the Feminine and Food in Flow. Those two courses are how to eat by cycle phase so that you're boosting your metabolism in the best possible way, so that you're giving the hormones that are flowing in your system what they need to flow correctly so that they can do what they're supposed to do for you correctly. It's a circuit. If you're not eating for your cycle phase, your body's working harder. Hands down. It includes Femme Fit and Femme Physique. If you're working out not by your cycle phases, you are doing damage to your body. You are hurting your adrenals. If you have adrenal fatigue, you're not going to be able to work out like you want to work out. You've got to start working out by your cycle phases to heal that and to prevent it. Same with chronic fatigue syndrome. If you're not working out by your cycle phases, you're not loving your body, even though you think you are by moving your body. You're actually hurting it. So those are included in Resonance. In the mood. How to know when you're going to be really, really in the mood and how to supplement when you're actually physically, hormonally not so much in the mood, but how to supplement for that. All of these programs are contained inside of Resonance. So you get all of those, everything that I run fresh, and you get that VIP day that Caitlin just won a spot in. Woo, congratulations, Caitlin. Next week. So you get one VIP day per month to come in and get laser coaching, ask your questions, and then run for another, 4-ish weeks, and then have something else come in. That is $888 per month. It is a 12-month commitment. You could pay in full at $10K if you so desire. Just jump in Messenger for any of these and say, Sarah, I want the link for this. Okay, this I'm super, super excited about. So if you've made it this far, you're getting juice that has not been in any of the previous modules. This is exciting. This is the FemmePower Mastermind. It is a short mastermind. It is 3 months. It is July, August, and September. The FemmePower Mastermind. So you're going to have access to me inside of Marco Polo and the other ladies that jump in with you Monday through Friday. I'm in there 1 to 3 hours a day between 8 my time and 5 p.m. And so you can come into Marco Polo, you can ask questions, you can plan your content with me in real time in Marco Polo. You want to launch a business but you don't know what it is? We can hash that out in Marco Polo. You want to know how to handle this problem that showed up? We can hash that out in Marco Polo. You have a very difficult conversation that you need to have, but you want to know what cycle phase is the best time to have that conversation? We can hash that out in Marco Polo. So this is the FemmePower Mastermind. It is $4,444 for those 3 months paid in full. It's honestly better than one-on-one with me, even though, you have me more frequently than one-on-one. And then there are payment plans. There's a 3-pay option for that also. Kaylin says, brace yourself because I have so many questions for you. That's awesome, dear. I'm so glad. Write them down. Write them down. Okay. So that is the FemmePower Mastermind. Huge transformations happened for me in masterminds. I'm in one right now, and it is amazing to hear other people get coached, and it is amazing to just have a coach in your back pocket, so that you can ask questions, so that you can say, oh, this thing just happened, and I know I want to handle it from an emotionally intelligent place, but right now I just want to yell. It's great to have a safe space to go work through that and then go handle whatever the situation is from an emotionally intelligent place that is cycle specific. So beautiful. And then, there's the beautiful Rhythm Mastermind. It is everything I just said about the FemmePower Mastermind for 12 months. And you get access to every single program. So the FemmePower one is very, very short and small, and you don't have access to the programs, but you have access to me. Beautiful Rhythm Mastermind is 12 months. You get all of the programs, you get the VIP days, and you have the Marco Polo pod. It is $22,222 if you pay in full for the year, or there is a 12 monthly payment option also if you so desire. So I hope that this was so amazing for you all. I hope this made so much sense to you. I hope that you're going to be able to take this information and not just leave it as information. I hope that you will move it into that transformation phase and then into that integration phase. If this has been moving for you at all, I ask that you would continue to share the I'm in graphic. Continue to invite people with the link into this group so that they can get this content. And I encourage you to hit replay on these modules until they go away on June 30th. I will do, like I said, one more drawing, probably on the 30th itself, right before we pull this content down. All these names are staying, and anyone else who is sharing the I'm in graphic, you could share it every single day if you so desire and get your name in here like 4 times a day for every single day until June 30th and increase your likelihood of your name coming out of this cup on, I think Thursday. Is Thursday the 30th? I think it's Thursday. So please continue to share. Please continue to invite people to this content. It is transformational for women. It is huge. So I will see you loves later.